G'day there, Chris from the Headache and Pain Management Centre, and today we are talking about 4 tips to get you back on the road, on the move, back to work after you've had a whiplash injury. If you're joining us, please type in below and say hello. So tip number 1 is actually really important to do straight away after you've had your fender bender, after you've had your motor vehicle accident. What you need to do straight away is to assess what's happened immediately after the accident. So are you in immediate sharp pain in your neck? Is there any immediate symptoms in your arms or down your back, things of that nature? Because that would actually warrant having a medical referral straight away. We want to make sure that there aren't any fractures or any damage that's happened as a result of the trauma. So it's really, really important straight away to get assessed if you've got any immediate pain. However, with most people, what happens is that the next day you actually wake up feeling very, very sore through the muscles of your neck, through the muscles of your shoulder. You might actually get more symptoms the day after than the day off. Now, what's really important the next day is that straight away, as much as you possibly can, that you move early, okay? That you're able to try to move that joint, try to move those muscles through the range to get the movement back as soon as you can. Obviously, it's best to do this, and I highly recommend that you do this under the supervision of a physiotherapist. So that is my strongest recommendation. You should do that. But in general, what the advice will be from your physiotherapist is to move early, to try to get as much range as you possibly can if it's not overly painful. So if it's not, say, over a 5 or 6 out of 10, then gently moving through those muscular tightnesses and muscular tensions can be a good idea early. But I do recommend that you do that under the supervision of a physiotherapist, just to make sure that there hasn't been anything injured or damaged in the car accident. So moving early is the first one. The second thing is to know how pain works when it comes to whiplash. Okay, so having an understanding of what happens in your joints, in your muscles, in your discs, in your nerves when you have a whiplash injury. So what can happen is that it can be very, very painful when you begin to move, or straight away after the accident. Often it can be prudent just to have a couple of days just to rest and then get moving. What the key thing to understand about whiplash is that quite often, while there are little micro tears, little injuries of the muscles or perhaps the ligaments in the neck, they do heal, okay? And basically that does heal within sort of a 6 to 12 week period, those little tiny muscle strains and muscle tears. What's important to know though is that you can get other pains as well that are of more a protective element to it. So it's not actually to do so much with the little injuries that might be there from the whiplash, but it's actually more from your brain going, oh man, I've just had a really big impact, I've had a big sort of movement with my neck. I should really try to protect that to avoid you from moving. What we know though is that if you do keep it stiff and tight and you start turning like this instead of turning your neck after a longer period of time, is that you actually start becoming more and more stiff and it's harder to keep moving. So understanding how your pain works in relation to your whiplash injury is really, really important. Is it actually dangerous to move or is it safe? You need to get assessed by a physiotherapist to make sure that it is safe to do so, and also get that guidance to move as early as you possibly can. Get some pain relief, some heat, to do the things to get you back moving once again. The third thing here is to understand and recognise the role of anxiety and fear when it comes to a whiplash injury. I've had a couple of these in the past. I've been in a couple of pretty nasty rear enders, and I can tell you it's really quite scary when you have to jump back behind the wheel. You're afraid at every traffic light that there's going to be that car that's going to come and hit you from behind, or perhaps you might hurt yourself once again. What's important to note is that pain can actually come on as a result of anxiety and fear, as a result of the context of being back behind the wheel. And from my experience, what we find is that it's actually really important, if you can, if you're mentally able to do so, if it's safe to do so, to get back behind the wheel as soon as you can after the accident. Okay, so obviously if you can't turn your neck and check blind spots, that's unsafe. We don't want to do that. But if you're actually safe to do so, but you're feeling scared and anxious about getting behind the wheel, just do a little drive around the block, okay? Even just to local shops and back, maybe just in the car park, just to get used to the feel of being back in the car again. The reason I say this is because the biggest cause of disability after a whiplash injury is actually the amount of time it takes to get back to doing the things that you normally do, like driving a car, like working, like doing your activities of daily living. The faster that you're able to get back to doing the things that you once did before the accident, the more likely that your recovery is going to be a positive one. So very important to get back to normal activities, getting back behind the wheel as soon as you can, getting back to doing those activities. And of course, if you're finding that there are symptoms of, say, post-traumatic stress, there's a lot of anxiety that comes from it, then you need to talk to your GP, talk to a psychologist, and get it done early so that you're able to get back as fast as you can to doing the things that you want to do without the fear and the anxiety that comes from the whiplash injury and the car accident itself. Last but not least, number 4, okay? Once you've got back moving, once you're confident, once you're getting back to doing things, it's really important to get strong in the muscles of your neck, okay? So with any injury, whether it's a hamstring injury, a calf injury, a back injury, it's really, really important to rehabilitate the muscles that have been affected, okay? So often pain actually switches the muscles off. It actually makes the muscles a bit more inhibited, doesn't work as well because they're protected by pain. So they become a little bit more weak if you haven't used them quite as much. So what you want to do is you want to get moving and then get strong. Actually challenge the muscles of your neck to get that movement, particularly into extension and into rotation, because they're the muscles, they're the joints that move to keep you upright and to keep you scanning the environment around you. So making sure that you're getting strong in the muscles after whiplash injury is often the missing link for people that have long-term chronic neck pain after injury. And at the clinic, we've got what's called the multi-cervical unit, or the neck machine as we call it, that is able to strengthen the neck in all directions and work out where your deficits most lie and where the most benefits can come. So getting strong is actually really, really important. Once you're over that acute phase of the pain, once you've got past that movement phase, once you've got past the anxiety, getting strong is actually really, really important. So those 4 things again: move early and get assessed if there's any acute or sharp pain or anything that's into the arms straight away. That's first. You need to get moving as early as you possibly can under the guidance of someone who knows what they're doing. The second thing is actually knowing how your pain works when it comes to your individual whiplash injury. Knowing as well that there can be protecting by pain, there can be contextual stuff. You need to understand how whiplash and pain works and not be so afraid of it. The third thing, to make sure that your headspace is right. If there's any post-traumatic stress that's coming from the accident, there's anxiety, there's frustration, there's fear about taking your activities day to day, that you need to get that assessed, you need to get that looked at and work through it as best you can. And fourth, last but not least, but probably the most important, get strong in your neck. Get those muscles strong, get it moving, get it active so you can get back to doing the things that you want to do. I hope that's been useful today, and we'll see you again for another Facebook Live video. Cheers and bye for now.